Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games, and you're watching This Week in MTG Finance. As always, and before we get started, I want to thank MTG Stocks for allowing us to use graphical information for the purposes of this video. It's been a pretty crazy week this week, all things considered, and considering things were so slow last week. We've got some really big winners this week. So let's dive right into our top 10 list, and we're going to start right here with Waste Not from Commander 2016. Currently valued at around 17 bucks, this thing's just kind of barely been missing the list over the course of the last couple of weeks. And we've had jumps from 9 to 11, 11 to 14 kind of thing, so sort of sitting in the like 13, 14 range, just barely not making the list. But all things that either make your opponent's discard or give you value like Waste Not out of your opponent's discard are on the rise right now, and that's because of Tiny Bones, that new commander potential from the Jumpstart set. I'm actually really looking forward to building Tiny Bones. A bunch of discard spells, things that force your opponent to discard every turn, and spells that give you value like Waste Not out of your opponent's discarding are all on the increase right now. And of note, the Magic 2015 version can still be had for around the $13 mark. So if you need to pick yourself up a Waste Not, that's definitely your best value. In the number 9 spot, and up 53% this week, we have Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Now, the original Planar Chaos version is currently sitting around all-time highs, around $46. And this is sort of a leading indicator as to what the other copies are going to be doing. I mean, we can still pick up Foil from the Vault Realms and the Magic 2015 and Ultimate Masters versions for around the $27 mark. So there's definitely a huge gap there. If you need to pick up an Urborg or you're a gap type investor, I do believe that all of the other printings are going to be following suit with this one. It's just a commander staple, right? Fits into that Tiny Bones deck we were just talking about, making sure that all of your lands are tapping for black mana. Allows you to run other sorts of colorless lands and things like that that wouldn't necessarily tap for black, but gives you access to black with those lands and Urborg in play. And of course it combos with things like Cabal Coffers. I mean, this thing's just a big time commander staple. So haven't had a reprint in a little while. Ultimate Masters was the last reprint. Doesn't look like we're going to be getting anyone in the near future. I mean, we still have Commander Masters and a few other sort of sets coming up, so there is the potential. But in the event that we don't get a reprint in any of those sets, this kind of card is just going to continue to rise. So if you're looking at, like I said, picking up some copies of this, all of the other versions can be had for around the $27 mark, and that is really good value considering the original printing is near 46 bucks. So coming in at number 8, we have Aunties Hovel from Lorwyn. This thing's never had a reprint, and it's currently sitting at 41 bucks. It's actually coming down from an all-time high of nearly $48 earlier this week, but still up 61%. Aunties Hovel, since it's never had a reprint, it's kind of no wonder that this is sort of where it's at in terms of price these days. Actually, all of the reveal lands from Lorwyn could use some reprinting. I think the only one that's maybe ever been reprinted is Guiltleaf Palace, but Aunties Hovel definitely could use a reprint. So goblins are really at the forefront right now because of Conspicuous Snoop and that modern combo that you can do as early as turn 3 in Modern. But this land did have a big sort of power spike back when Modern Horizons was first introduced. I mean, we got some really awesome goblins, things like Sling Gang Lieutenant and stuff like that out of Modern Horizons. So it really sort of thrust goblins back into the spotlight in Modern and made them kind of viable again too, right? So all that said, really awesome land, really hard to get your hands on these days because supply is so low. So coming in at number 7, we have Tainted Woods, specifically the Commander Anthology version, currently valued at $2.60, and this is up 85% this week. Of note, you can pick up all of the other versions for quite a bit cheaper. In fact, the Dual Decks Jace vs. Vraska version can be had for way under half of the price of this Commander Anthology version. Some of the new commanders from Commander 2020, commanders like Zaxara the Exemplary, are really popular and are increasing demand for lands like this. Alright, our number 6 winner this week is Thriving Grove. Now, this is one of those Jumpstart lands. If you're not familiar with these, they all tap for a specific color. In this case, Thriving Grove taps for green, but when it enters the battlefield, it does enter the battlefield tapped, but you can choose another color, and then the Thriving land will tap for green or whatever that other color is. And like I said, there's one for each of these colors. Now, these all carry a pretty good value, and this one's at 4 bucks. It's up 96% week over week. I do want to mention that you should be very careful about about investing in these thriving lands. I mean, there's just not much Jumpstart out there right now. There's actually not really supposed to be any in the market other than what sort of people have opened because they got free boosters with their Core Set 2021 purchases. That said, Jumpstart is only a couple of weeks away. Now, I understand from what I've understand from my supplier and things like that, that the first wave is going to be relatively small. I'm getting much less than I initially asked for. I've been allocated on Jumpstart product. So the initial wave is going to be a little bit smaller than I think maybe people have expected. And that's leading to some price increases on the box. I've seen them going for as high as $200. So that's pretty crazy. But all of that sort of aside, there is one of these thriving lands in every single pack of Jumpstart. So give it a couple of months and there's going to be a ton of these things out there. Now, don't get me wrong. I think these lands are fantastic. I think they're actually a little bit underrated for what you're actually getting. A lot of the people I talk to in my store, I'm like, hey, check out these thriving lands, really great for Commander. And they're kind of like, yeah, but it enters the battlefield tap. But my answer to that is, yeah, but so what? You have like whatever mana color you need, these lands provide. So, you know, I think that their value will be realized. I think they're going to be sort of staples in Commander. And I do expect them long term to have some value, but I think I just want people to take a word of caution that I'd be very careful about investing or purchasing these lands now. I think you're going to be able to get these for well under $1 once a bunch of Jumpstart has been opened and introduced into the market. All right, our number 5 one is kind of an oddball this week. So we have Diabolic Tudor, specifically the Commander Anthology version, currently valued at $4.50, and this thing's up 100% week over week. I don't understand what the big sort of desire is for all of these Commander Anthology version printings of the card. I mean, you can go down here. This card's been printed a ton. It's been in a lot of different core sets, conspiracy sets, bunch of Commander sets, all this kind of stuff. Even as early as or as late as Kaladesh, right? So a ton of these out there. You can get any other version for, you know, under $1. I think just maybe the original printing Odyssey is the only other one that's over $1. So there's absolutely no reason why it's not different art or anything like that. It's absolutely no reason other than the fact that it's a Commander Anthology printing, and I guess supply on Commander Anthology stuff is pretty low. So I suppose it has that going for it, but it doesn't have $4.50 worth of that going for it, considering you can get all of the other ones for like 70 cents. If you need to pick up copies of Diabolic Tudor, big time Commander staple, you can get it pretty much anywhere else in any other version for under $1. Now, coming in at number 4 this week, we have a Sora Shepherd, and this is another new one from Jumpstart. Currently valued at $120, and this thing is up 100% week over week. Now, I actually just purchased one of these. I made a video of Jumpstart openings. I had some customers that were really awesome and said to me, Dave, go ahead and open my Jumpstart packs that I'm getting for free with my Core Set 2021 purchase. You can go ahead and make a video, open them up, and let's see what we get. Make a video for everybody to see. So I had a customer, and I'll post that video up here in the top right corner if that's one that you're interested in looking at. But he was really lucky, and he got an Sora Shepherd in his packs that I opened for the YouTube video. So right away, I made him an offer on it. I bought it off it. I took it off his hands right away for $60. He was so happy. I'd like paid for almost half of his Core Set 2021 box, but I just had to have this card for my Selvala deck. I mean, there's almost no reason why you wouldn't play this in any green Commander deck, period. I mean, 1 green mana, it can't be countered. Green spells you control can't be countered, and then it has the you can pay 6 until end of turn all your elves into 5/5 dinosaurs. The bottom part, probably not all that much unless you're making some sort of elf ball deck or something like that. But this whole thing about green spells you can't be countered for a creature that only costs 1 and it can't be countered itself. I mean, this basically just helps protect any Commander deck that you're running green in. So this card is really highly desired for green in Commander. And like I said, I had to have one myself. I think this card is awesome. I don't think it's $120 awesome. I think these prices are really crazy. And I do believe that this will come down once a bunch of Jumpstart hits the market. But this is the type of card that's always going to have some value. And depending on sort of how much Jumpstart we get and how much gets opened, I can see that this realistically having a home in the like $30 to $50 range for sure. So I was happy to pay $60 for mine. I really wanted one for my personal collection, but I definitely would shy away from paying north of $100. That is for sure. Our number 3 winner this week is the Jumpstart printing of Scourge of Neltoth, and this is up 147% this week, currently valued at around $3.15. This is definitely a printing and supply driven price spike. I mean, you can still get the other printings of Scourge of Neltoth for around the $2 mark, so there's no real reason why this should be $3.14. It's just because there's absolutely no supply of this on the market currently. Now, our number 2 winner this week is on the rise thanks to a Game Nights video that was aired earlier last week. Zuri's Predation is really kind of a weird card, and I actually think this card has as much chance to be a dud in your hand as it does to be an absolute bomb. 8 mana, so 3 green and 5. It's a sorcery. Now, for each creature your opponents control, you put a 4/4 green beast creature token onto the battlefield, and then each of those beasts fights a different one of your opponent's creatures. So could potentially have like real big smashing power. You could end up with, I don't know, like 20 tokens or something like that and clear out most of your opponent's creatures. But like I said, there's going to be just as many times as that happens that this is sort of sitting in your hand and there's 2 creatures in play and you're like, well, I don't think I want to cast this right now. But pretty awesome card. Only had 1 printing. The thing's up 190% this week, and any card that gets featured on game nights and does well in an actual game is going to have results like this. And our number 1 winner this week is up 603%, and of all things, it's a shrine. Honden of Seeing Winds printed in Eternal Masters, currently valued at $5. Just last week, this thing was 30 cents, right? It's also got a Champions of Kamigawa printing at $1.30, so a much better value if you're looking for a Honden of Seeing Winds. Probably one of the best shrines. I mean, 5 mana, but at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card for each shrine you control. So if you're playing a shrine deck, this is definitely one you would want to include in your strategy. I don't understand why there would be sort of a almost $4 gap between the original printing and this Eternal Masters printing, so maybe the original has some catching up to do, or this one's just seeing some sort of weird spike this week. That said, there has definitely been an increase in interest in shrines in my store with all of the new shrines that were printed in Core Set 2021. I actually had someone asking for this card just today. So before I get into cards I'm investing in this week, as always, if you're a subscriber, you know I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate your support. And if you would like to help support this channel, I've included an Amazon link in the description of this video. And whether you need some new pool noodles or you just want to get an awesome deck box you can't find at your local game store, using that link will greatly help support this channel. All right, I want to kick things off with some really good deals to be had from Core Set 2021. And we'll start right here with things like this Azusa Lost But Seeking, especially this extended art. This sort of thing always happens the first few weeks after a new set is released. The pack openers get adder and dump a whole bunch of product onto the market. The prices fall through the floor, and it creates really good buying opportunities for people who are especially long-term investors. So something like this Azusa Lost But Seeking extended art for $15.50 is a great deal as a long-term investment, or even if you just want to pick one up for your own collection. I mean, Azusa used to be $40-50, right? So getting an alt art sort of borderless one for $15 is an absolute bargain. Now, this might actually even drop a bit more. It might hit $10, but I'm happy to pay $15.50 for this. And I'll tell you why. I mean, let's have a look at something like the Masters 25 version. Nothing really special about this. It was a different art. I mean, the Champions of Kamigawa had the sort of first and original art, so the Masters 25 had a bit of a different art. But the Core Set 2021 has the same art. You can get the one that's not really has anything special about it for around $9, which in itself is a great deal. But I think that one's probably going to go down and settle around the $5 or $7 mark, so I might wait on that one. These extended border ones, I'm not sure how much more they're going to drop. So like I said, pretty happy to pay $15 for this, considering that Azusa was in like the $40 to $50 range. And this is the type of card that's always going to be in high demand and a staple for something like Commander. In the same vein, we can look at something like this alternate art Grim Tudor. $26 for this card is mind-boggling to me. I mean, just the regular sort of Core Set 2021 pack version's $21.50. So, I mean, why wouldn't you just pay $4.50 more and get this alternate awesome looking extended art, right? It's really just because so much collector boosters is getting opened by the mass box openers. That's kind of the way to go for these mass box openers, these mass eBay sellers, things like that, is just open the collector boosters. You get so much value out of those things, especially in the early going before the set sort of hits the market and these prices have a chance to tank. Those things were crazy. I mean, my collector booster box opening video, if I took the prices on the day that I did it, it was well over $1,000. It was absolute absurdity. Now, I had a really good box. In fact, I'll post that video up here if you haven't seen that. It's a really good, it's amazing box, you know, in sort of comparison to other boxes that I've seen open. But just in general terms, the collector boosters are so valuable. So that's kind of where all the mass box openers go to, especially these big time eBay sellers and openers and things like that. So there ends up being a lot of these sort of alt art ones out into the marketplace because they're pretty regular hits in those collector boosters, right? There ends up being a ton of these out. It really sort of tanks the price. Great time to be picking up Grim Tudor for around the $25 mark, especially this alt art version. Moving away from Core Set 2020 for a minute, I want to have a look at Painful Quandary. I like this one long term. It's had like a nice growth chart. I mean, really started gaining in popularity around 2016 and sort of been an uphill climb pretty much ever since then. Really awesome commander card, puts a huge tax on your opponents, right? They either have to pay 5 life for each spell they cast or discard a card. So this thing works really well in all kinds of discard strategies, gaining some popularity lately because of things like Tiny Bones, but I do believe that this actually has a long way to go yet. It has not had any other printing, so something like this, there's a lot of cards around the Mirrodin and sort of Scars of Mirrodin blocks, things like Necrogen Mists and Painful Quandary and stuff like that. Life's Finale, these just cards aren't getting reprinted for whatever reason. I don't know if they're sort of on the block to do down the road for Wizards or whatever, but cards like this, because they aren't seeing reprints, supplies are definitely dwindling. I would pick up something like this if you need it now, but I do believe that actually long term this is still a really good bargain at $10.50 and a really good investment for the future. All right back to Core Set 2021. I can't help myself. These cards are just such a great bargain. And this is our speculation play for the week. Containment Priest Borderless. Actually, even just the sort of regular Containment Priest that comes in the set. For some reason, they put extra here. I'm not sure why, but this is actually just sort of the regular pack version of Containment Priest. $1. Right? Like, I mean, come on. Containment Priest has always been a $15, $20 card. Now, I get it that there's going to be a ton of this out there, considering it's in the rare slot. Massive supplies of Core Set 2021 are going to get opened because there's so much value in that set. But all of that aside, this is a commander staple. On top of that, this introduces it into every other format as well. So you can bet that when certain decks gain in popularity, that things like Containment Priest will end up in sideboard as sideboard tech for things like Modern and Pioneer and even stuff like that, right? So always going to be a huge demand for Containment Priests. Picking up this borderless version for like $2 is an absolute steal. And I mean, this regular sort of pack version is probably going to drop under $1 with all the Core Set 2021 stuff that's getting opened. And I am buying as many of these as I can get my hands on. This is a card that down the road, again, it's going to be, even if it ends up being $5 because of all this new supply that we get, I mean, I'm still making 5 times my money. And there's no reason why Containment Priest won't reach those levels again at some point in the future. All right, I really hope you enjoyed this week in MTG Finance. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps me out, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.